When giants collide inside the ring, it's never just a fight. It's a spectacle, a clash of raw, unfiltered power where each blow echoes like a thunderclap and each fall shakes the earth beneath the canvas. These aren't just athletes trading punches. These are modern-day titans, carving their legacies into the fabric of combat sports with fists like hammers and wills forged in fire. This is where muscle meets mayhem, where strength alone isn't enough. You need heart, resilience, and the kind of bravery that tempts fate. And when that bell rings, nothing else matters. The world has always had a fascination with size, and the heavyweight division across all forms of fighting has long been the centerpiece of that obsession. These colossuses don't just fight, they dominate. And it's in these moments, when two behemoths square off inside the ring, that audiences around the world find themselves unable to look away. What follows is not just a highlight reel of knockouts, but a series of mythic battles that push the boundaries of human endurance and redefine what it means to be the strongest. It was 2005 when Bob Sapp, a hulking figure who seemed forged from steel and sheer chaos, faced off against sumo legend Aben, also known as Akebono, in what was supposed to be a debut but quickly turned into a demolition. Akebono, stepping into K1 with his towering presence, looked every bit the immovable object, but seemed to forget that he wasn't in a sumo ring anymore. Attempting to push Sapp out, like in his traditional sport, he met the cold embrace of the ropes and the even colder truth of striking combat. After a few wild attempts, Sapp unleashed his fear-ascending bombs into Akebono's face, one after the other. Each punch landed with a finality that echoed across the arena, and soon, the sumo titan was down, struggling to regain footing. He got back up to his butt. Sapp was merciless. The third barrage knocked him out cold. A Thanksgiving turkey laid flat on the mat. Akebono had been introduced to a world where brute strength wasn't enough, especially when standing across from a man like Bob Sapp. Then came the day the strongman collided. Thor, Bjornsson, and Eddie Hall, two former World's Strongest Man title holders who decided to settle their differences not with deadlifts but with fists. The air around them buzzed with tension as the bell rang. Hall, fire in his eyes and grit in his knuckles, came out hard, swinging like he had Odin's rage coursing through him. He landed a shot that sent Thor crashing to the canvas. A moment that had fans roaring with disbelief. But Thor, channeling the very myth he's named after, wasn't done. Rising from the knockdown, he returned fire with the force of Mjolnir itself. A hammering left hand turned the tide. Blow after blow. He proved he wasn't just a strong man, he was a fighter. As the match wore on, it became clear only one man would walk away holding the title of the true strongest, and Thor made sure it was him. But nothing quite captured the raw chaos of giant warfare like the collision at Glory Collision 3 in 2021. Dutch kickboxing king Rico Verhoeven met Jamal Ben Saddik in what looked like a fight carved straight from mythology. From the first bell, Ben Saddik came with war in his fists, dropping Verhoeven and nearly derailing the whole event with an illegal move that came dangerously close to spiraling into a brawl. Then came Rico's retaliation, a flurry of shin kicks like thorns from a Dutch rose, cutting through the air and into Ben Saddik's will. The fight became less sport and more survival. Ben Saddik, looking like a man possessed, painted face in crimson, punch by merciless punch. The crowd watched as Rico teetered on the edge of defeat, his face swelling, his defenses crumbling. But just when it seemed over, Verhoeven found the fire. One last gasp of defiance erupted in a brutal counterattack. In a blaze of punches, he dropped Ben Saddik in a jaw-dropping comeback, a dramatic twist worthy of cinematic legend. Then there was the mismatch that became a lesson in humility. Jerome Le Banner, a beast of a Frenchman, stepped into the ring. With Schilt, a man so towering, he looked like he belonged on Skull Island. The size difference alone was enough to strike fear into the audience, but Le Banner wasn't the type to back down. At first, he brought the fight to Schilt, punching through the giant's defenses with determination carved from stone. But all fairy tales crumble, and so did Le Banner's momentum. A single knee from Schilt changed everything. It wasn't just a strike, it was a seismic event. From that point, the Dutch titan found his rhythm and dismantled the brave Frenchman with ruthless efficiency. Le Banner, writhing in agony from a devastating leg strike, wanted to keep going, but his corner saw what he couldn't. The fight was lost, and more importantly, so was his leg's ability to carry him through it. And then, from the absurd to the brutal, we had Butterbean, the spherical juggernaut known for ending fights faster than they began. Across from him stood Paul Springer, a man who looked like he ate protein shakes for breakfast and steroids for dessert. He brought muscles into the ring, but what he didn't bring was common sense. Trying to brawl with Butterbean in a phone booth exchange was like stepping into a hurricane with an umbrella. The hooks came fast and hard. 2 of them, and Springer was sent to sleep. No strategy, no defense. Just ego flattened under the weight of experience. Butterbean had proved again that muscles don't win fights. Chins do. Bob Sapp would return to Tokyo again in 2018, facing off against sumo fighter Canaro. The crowd, familiar with the spectacle of giant versus giant, braced for violence. Canaro came out swinging relentless, charging fists flying like anvils. But Sapp had seen worse. He absorbed the flurry with the stoicism of a war-hardened tank, then returned fire. And when Sapp unloads, it's not a counter, it's an explosion. With each punch, Cantaro's confidence waned, and by the end, he looked less like a threat and more like a lost kitten in a lion's den. Sapp, drenched in sweat and pride, walked away from both defeat and, by the looks of it, a potential heart attack. Then there was the fight that played like a bizarre European version of Rocky. Only this time Rocky was an imposter. In the ring stood Sandu Lungu, a Romanian juggernaut with a frame that defied human logic. And across from him, a man daring to wear the name Rocky. It didn't take long for fiction to collapse under fact. Lungu came out like a locomotive, throwing haymakers with the fury of an avalanche. Rocky didn't just go down, he folded. And not once did he resemble the heart or grit of the character he claimed to emulate. The fight wasn't close. It was a public unmasking, with Lungu battering his way through the myth and exposing a man who had no business in that ring. On 2011, Lungu struck again, this time against Neil Cook. From the opening bell, Cook tried to show that he wasn't afraid, taunting the beast across from him. But fearlessness is not the same as smartness, and against Lungu, foolishness is fatal. The giant wasted no time, cornering Cook and unleashing a series of blows that would have shaken the teeth out of any lesser man. Cook, overwhelmed and unable to find any rhythm, was soon another victim in Lungu's long list of beatdowns. Even the trophy presentation at the end carried a hint of mockery. They couldn't find a belt big enough for him, so they handed him a custom-sized trophy. Victory, size, and spectacle all wrapped into one enormous package. These aren't just fights, they're cinematic moments playing out in real time. Unscripted, violent, and unforgettable. When giants collide, the outcome is always uncertain. Muscles can be deceiving. Size is both a weapon and a weakness. What matters most in these colossal showdowns isn't just how hard you hit, but how much you can endure. How deep you can dig when the lights go out and the crowd fades. This is the poetry of pain, the theater of punishment. And we watch not just for the violence, but for the rare glimpses of heart that rise from under the shadow of these towering frames. If you found yourself glued to the chaos and awe of these epic clashes, let us know which one stunned you. The most do you think brute strength is enough, or does technique always win in the end? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more insane moments when giants collide in the ring.